All right, good morning, folks. We're going to get started, looks like in about 2 minutes. Welcome to Stock Analysis Fridays. So hang tight and we'll get started in just a moment. I know, you like that groovy music, huh? All right, hopefully you can hear me okay. Let me know also if the audio is a-okay. All right, good, audio a-okay. All right, well, we'll get started in about a minute or so. All right, well, welcome everybody to Stock Analysis Fridays. My name is Bennett McDowell with TradersCoach.com. It's great to have you here today. All right, a couple things I just want to go over. I have a few administrational items, of course, I need to cover with you, things like the risk control and all that kind of good stuff. But before I do, go ahead and start typing in your stocks or ETFs you want me to look at. You know, as you know, we'll take a look at those and analyze those using our software tools. And type those in caps because that's easier for me to see. And let's see what else we got to cover. The other thing too is we had some stock picks from last week that are doing really good. I think PayPal is doing excellent. I'm going to take a quick look at PayPal. And let's see what we can find today. All right, so let me go through some of these administrational items here real quick and then jump into the charts real quick here. All right, first thing I got to tell you is that there are risks involved in trading. But like I always say, without those risks, there are no opportunities. So the two really go hand in hand. What we want you to do is make sure you're smart about how to do risk and risk control, how to take those risks. And one of the things you want to do is you always want to trade with money you can afford to risk, and that's called risk capital. Then we want you to know how to do risk control on each and every trade. And so risk control comes down to what's your win to loss ratios and your payoff ratios and how much am I going to win and how much am I going to risk, things like that. You need to know how to do those calculations. And we have a variety of tools that can help you. And I'll share a great book that can help you with that in just a moment. And then also, too, we need you to realize that it's possible to lose some or all your money trading the financial markets. And you need to talk to your financial advisor, accountant, or attorney before acting on any of the trades we look at today or trading opportunities we look at today to make sure they are suitable for you, because we don't know your personal situation. And of course they do. Now, I was talking about risk control before, and we have a brand new book called the Money Management for Traders book coming out. Well, it's out, and it's in 4 formats. It's in a hardcover, soft cover, audio, and Kindle. So kind of something for everybody there. The great thing about this book is I took all the important formulas and things you need to know to do risk control from my book, my more comprehensive book called The Trader's Money Management System, which is the white colored book on the left, and put it into a very concise and condensed version, which is the green book, Money Management for Traders. It's only about 15 bucks on Amazon. So it's not an expensive book, which I'm really glad about, because it allows you to get the basics of risk control that you can start using right away for a very inexpensive price. So check that book out. You have to use risk control in the markets. We don't win on every trade. And so we want to keep those losing trades as small as possible. And that book will help you do it. And then I'm also very, very happy to announce we have a second edition of The Art of Trading coming out. So I just signed contracts about a week or so ago with Wiley Trading, and they're going to publish our second edition. So our first edition came out in 2008. So it's due. All right. So we're coming out with a new one, should be out by the spring of next year. Excited about that. We're also talking to them about another book as well. So a lot of great things going on in the book area. All right. So when we look at charts today, you're going to see me use a variety of software tools. Some of them you may be seen before, especially if you know us. Some you may not. If you do not know us, we're going to be using specialized trading software that focuses on software for the charts, for entries and exits. We also have risk control software, and we also have scanning software. So today we're going to focus on the charting software. So when I look at charts, I'll go over kind of what you're looking at so you know how to do it. And then finally, please like, subscribe, and share. All right. The more people that like us, I guess the better YouTube likes us, and the better we kind of do with all the formulas that YouTube uses in order to get our video out there. So liking is kind of important. We'd appreciate that. And also, too, the more subscribers we get, the better, because the more people that come here with stocks, the more likely we'll be able to uncover some really good ones. And then at least you get a second opinion on maybe something you're thinking about going into or maybe already into. All right, so let me come out of here. And I just want to cover PayPal first. But before I get into PayPal, let me just go over my layout here. So if you're new here, you'll see 3 charts. You'll see a chart on the left, which is my 60-minute chart. So this means that every price bar is an hour on this chart. So this is considered the short-term look of the market we're going to analyze. And then if we go over to this chart, same stock, and we're happen to be looking at PayPal here, this is a daily chart. And each price bar here represents a full day of activity. This is kind of the normal chart you're going to see when you go to a website or something and look at a chart. So this is what we call the intermediate chart. And then finally, on the right-hand side, we have the weekly chart, which is our longer term look at the same stock. So I call this multiple time frame analysis, and I've developed a course on this as well. So if you're interested in this, let me know. And of course, you can always take the course. But the idea behind this is it helps us time the entries. It also dictates whether we're going against the long-term trend or not. So that's kind of the way we're going to analyze stuff here. This area up here, okay, is our scanners. So that's software that we use. We have the Trade Confirmer running, Elliott Wave Scanner, Turbo Scanner, MTF, and all that kind of good stuff is running at the top. And then finally, we're using the NinjaTrader platform today. Okay, so that's a great platform, and we really enjoy that too. There's a lot of good ones. We're also compatible with TradeStation and so forth, which is also an excellent platform, and multi-charts too. So those are our 3 primary platforms that our software is available on. And of course, if you want to learn more about our software, please come to traderscoach.com. All right, so here's PayPal. We picked this one last week as one of our winners, okay? And we certainly have been able to take it to the bank, right? All right, so it's come up quite a bit. In fact, it gapped up, okay, earlier this week. And, you know, when we got together, it was about in the 80s, right around here. So it's done pretty well. So if you're in this one, you know, hopefully you are, okay, you got into it in time. You're doing well in this. So outstanding. All right, so the next thing I want to take a quick look at is the cryptos. Now, I know a lot of people got excited about the cryptos for the last, you know, year or two. And as you can see, up it went and down it went. So now, what do you do with this thing? Well, if you were using technical analysis in our trading system, you'd be out of this a long time ago. In fact, you would have been short this. You can see all these red colored pyramids coming down on this last leg and this one here. We had a few up here. Okay, so you could have gone long here, but you wouldn't have lasted long. You would have been stopped out. So I don't think it's quite ready to trade to the long side yet. If you're still long, chances are you've been stopped out like a week ago on this. I mean, if you're still short, you would have been stopped out. Now, one of the things we look at is these indicators at the bottom, in addition to our entry and exit triangles that we call the ART pyramids of the ART system. And this is called the OWL. All right, this measures momentum. This is the PTF. Now, when we see a PTF, for example, that's red, like on the 60-minute chart over here, notice that we find the lowest price bar in that red area. And there is a 75% chance, that's the accuracy rate of this indicator, which is quite good for the markets, indicating that at some point it should return and go down. So we don't think a bottom is quite in on Bitcoin yet because of that one indicator. So it looks like it's basing on the daily chart. I mean, we're kind of running along the bottom. And if this indicator changes and goes green, well, then that'll change things. But for right now, it looks like I would be a little concerned that we're going to have one more low. And then we'll look at it again if that happens. All right. So I would stay away from Bitcoin right now. All right. Let's see what you guys want to take a look at here. All right. So Patricia, how are you? I think you're the first one up today. All right. FAS. Let's see what we got cooking on FAS here. So give that a second to load. And I don't know if you're long or short on these, but I'll tell you what I think about it. All right, so this actually is kind of an interesting one right now. We've had a nice move to the downside. And if we look at the long-term weekly chart, let's open that chart up for a minute. Let's kind of get an idea of where we are. Okay, so this was the COVID low, okay? All stocks suffered during that, right? And then we rebounded for another high. And really now, the entire 2022, stocks have been out of favor. They have come down. And we think that's because there's going to be a more significant correction in the markets overall. I think also, too, we're going to have a uptick in the markets, a bullish run for about a month or two here. And that's why I think a lot of long trades are going to do well over the next month or two. But then be careful, because we think there's going to be a big move down after that. And if you're an Elliott wave person, we do feel we're in a long-term correction right now, and we're in the B wave of that correction, which is bullish. It's a bullish time in the market. So kind of gives you a chance to unwind some of those positions you may have not been able to get out of before we had the big move down in 2022. All right, so what do we do with this? Well, currently on this one, we have an active pyramid to the downside. All right, we've had three. We have a very bearish owl. So any long trade here has to be considered at this point a possible correction only, all right, until that owl turns green. So let's take a look here at what we're looking at here on the daily chart. So we've got some bullishness coming in, which kind of basically justifies that feeling of a correction on its way. Where is it going? Let's draw some fibs in and kind of take a look at that on our daily chart. And I'm going to just draw them right from this area here to here. So I think, Patricia, we're coming up to around $91.88, all the way up possibly to 114. So that's our target based off Fibonacci retracements of where I think the bullishness is going to end somewhere in that target zone. So if you're long right now, you probably got about another, I'm going to guess 20 points on this, which is quite a bit. All right. So again, you know, this is an opportunity to go long temporarily. And when you hit these target zones, then make sure your stops are very close. So I'm kind of liking this right now. I do think you got to be careful on these first legs up, because if you look at the 60-minute chart, we're starting to see bearish divergence building in this leg up here. So the momentum is hedging down, but the prices are going up. So that's divergence. That usually occurs before a change in the direction of the trend. So what does that mean? Well, it means we're probably going up like this and then pull back and then resume and go back into the target zone. So it's very careful. You got to be very careful on this first leg up. We have not had a pullback yet. Get that stop at the very, very bottom. All right. Now, in terms of risk to reward, prices are about 76.38 right now. And since we're calling for a stop way at the bottom, we got to put that down below around 55 bucks, right? So the profit target is 91 to 114. So the risk to reward is not quite there for this. We like to have a double or 2-to-1 risk to reward. In other words, we want the profit potential to be twice as great as the risk, okay, of where we're going to put our stop. And that would be $55. So as you can see, we're already halfway to the target zone. So we need a good pullback before we can get into this. So while I think you're going in the right direction if you're long, I think the risk and reward are going to keep us out of that. All right, let's take a look at your next one, BOIL. Boil. All right, let's see what we got cooking on this one. All right, so we've had a move up. Let's open up that weekly chart. Oh man, look at that. All right, so this was a stock that was just at almost 38,000, right? All right, so now it's down in the 84 range. But I got to tell you, all right, it's about as low as it can go. Of course, it could go another 84 bucks and go bust. But what is it doing here? Well, it kind of is drifting sideways, but it did pop out of a long-term channel here on the weekly chart. Interesting. Okay, so you want to find the bottom down here. Okay, we've got green here. That's good. We don't have any more active triangles on this leg up yet. So we don't have any particular entries yet. So let's see what the daily chart is showing. Okay, so it's going to put that move up under a microscope. So if you were trading that, look at the pyramids. They did a great job on that. So what do you do now? All right, well, we have green over here. You're probably good for another high around 108 on this at the very least. So I wouldn't want to be short here. In terms of a long-term play on this, I think at this particular point, the only way you would want to go long is if you're trying to catch a serious bottom on the weekly chart. And I think what you have to be careful about here is this would be considered a long-term trade if you were to go into it at this particular point, because you want to get your stop as low as possible. I mean, you could put your stop here, all right, or even better yet here. But the idea here is if you look at this weekly chart, you know, this has been kind of meandering since 2021. All right, so quite a while. It could meander, it could fall back in here, meander a little longer before it breaks out. But it did break out here. All right, so what I'm hoping is that maybe we get a big breakout here and then it's off to the races. So if you wanted to go long on this based on a long-term hold, you could do that at this point, okay? So that's not a bad one, but it is going to be a long-term hold. And how long, not quite sure. Don't have that kind of crystal ball. All right, let's take a look at Ford, which is F. Let me just erase that line there. Okay, so give that a second to load. This will be Ford Motor Company. All right, so as you can see, all right, we're bouncing off a bottom. I'm going to move some of these lines over here. Let's dump those because we did look at this before. All right, so the important thing is, let's look at the weekly chart. All right, we had a nice move up on this weekly chart here. And it started in basically April of 2021. So this is a weekly chart, long-term chart. Here's the April 21. So it moved up, nice momentum, Elliott wave 3, pulled back into an Elliott wave 4 target, and now it is moving back to the upside. So what's the deal with this? Well, we reached the target. I don't see too much clarity on an ABC correction, which concerns me. Okay, I usually like to see kind of a more abrupt B. This could be a B, okay, but it also could be an entire A wave. This has got to go green to really justify that we are in a wave 5 on our way to new highs. So this is green. This is really good because the highest green is the top of wave 3, and wave 5 certainly should bust above that. So there's a lot of dots we can connect. This dot, this kind of is pretty clear, ended here, okay. It's not super clear because of the B wave may or may not be in yet. So what do? Well, I think you got to assume it hit the target. I think you need to take this trade, all right? You got the risk to reward here. If you put your stop here, you enter here, your target, there's your 2-to-1. And we, of course, that will probably even go even higher up here. Because if we draw the fibs in, let's just see where those end. Sometimes they don't, So let's just put it here. Oh, no, sorry. Let's redraw that extension. So we got to come down here to this low. We want to go up here, and we want to go here. So probably that high in there will be about right, okay? So I'm liking that for a long trade. We've certainly got enough bullishness on the daily chart for that. So kind of liking it. All right, so Ford, I think, is a good one at this particular point. I think you got to put the stop low, but you have the risk control even if you do that. So in other words, if your target is above here and we're going in here, even if you put your stop, put it down in here. You don't want to put it in the middle here because you usually get pullbacks. So I put it as low as you could, but you still have the risk to reward. So Ford, okay, is one I like. So I think we'll put the ching on that one. Okay, so let's say that's pretty good. All right, let's go to coin. And again, Patricia, this is the last one for you today, I think. All right, so of course you can always ask me more. Give that a second to load. All right, so we looked at coin before, okay, it's still pulling up, but we have a situation here where we have a red PTF. So when that's red, I can't go against that. Now, if this turns green, that's a different story, but I can't take a long trade with that red. I can't go against that. So even if it hits here, all right, so be it. I'd actually look for a short trade. This is red, this is red. So I'd look for a short trade, but I would not go long because I don't trade against that particular indicator. With a 75% accuracy rate, just don't do it. Now, on the 60-minute chart, it looks like we're going to go higher. So it looks like we are in a correction. The other point with this is, if you go in here and you put your stop here, your risk to reward's not there. Okay, it's not 2-to-1. So this is one I would pass on. Okay, but that's just me. All right, let's see, John, how are you? NVIDIA. Oh yeah, this was another one we looked at quite a bit. All right, let's see what that bad boy is doing here. All right, so Patricia, thank you for those. Patricia, Ford looks like the best one on that list you gave us. All right, so let's see what's going on with NVIDIA here. All right, so it pulled back. Let's open up that weekly chart for a minute. Okay, so that is pretty darn clear. Okay, when I open up a chart and I can see wave 3. Now, wave 3, if you're not an Elliott wave person, wave 3 is the most prominent wave of an entire trend. It is usually hyperbolic, unmistakable, and you can certainly see we see that here. And in this case, it's a bullish wave 3. After that, you have a wave 4, all right? And you draw in a fib retracement, and we do that a certain way because the way in which we draw them in is not quite like you can find most people do it. We do it a little differently. We do it based on certain wave counts. And this yields a 70% probability of a high probability target range. So we're going to put that in there. Okay. And it looks to us like this is now primed to go into wave 5. Going against this, okay, but here's what I want to show you. Here's your 3. Remember I talked about an ABC? Look at that, A, B, C. Nice and clear for a wave 4. Really like this one. You don't want to miss it. You've got great potential on this. Let's draw some fib extensions and see where that ends up. All right, so the PTF is green here as well, sitting right smack in the target zone for 5. So this is your target zone for 5, target for 4 and 3. Okay, so there you have it. So the weekly chart, a lot of dots connect. The only thing that hasn't rolled over yet is the owl. All right, let's take a look at the daily chart. Okay, looking really good. Let's remove this retracement because I think it's beginning now a big move up. And this is a good one. So this actually is still okay. All right. NVIDIA is going to go back on the buy list for today. All right. So let me just write that down. NVDA. And this is one you can take to the bank, I think. All right. So I'm liking that a lot. All right. NVIDIA is a good one, John. And any questions on that, let me know. If you go in now, all right, you got to put your stop low. All right. Because it hasn't had the pullback yet. You know, when you get a bounce off the bottom, you most of the time, and that's kind of the way I trade, I go with the probabilities. Most of the time, you get a significant retracement. So if you get in late, chances are if you wait for the retracement, you can get in. But in this case here, you've got to put your stop. If you're going to go ahead and go in here because you don't want to miss it, put your stop at the very bottom. Now, we got bearish divergence on the 60 minutes, so we're due. All right, so I think probably it will pull back. It's around 187 now. I think it'll pull back to the 160s. What you never really know, and this was what makes difficult waiting for the pullback, is maybe it'll go to 240 before it pulls back. All right, then you would have been better off going in now. So that's the problem with waiting sometimes. But if you're going to go in and you're kind of getting in a little bit late, which is the key here, then you kind of got to put that stop very, very low. But NVIDIA is excellent. Okay. All right. So Stuart, good morning. Hey, Stuart, you see I'm wearing the hat. Stuart sent me a hat, ADP. I don't promote ADP, but I like the hat. So I appreciate that. All right. General Motors. Let's take a look at General Motors, see what's cooking. All right. So General Motors, we liked it. This is one of our picks, I think, from last week, if I recall correctly. And it's doing pretty good. Again, big first move up, had a little pullback here where that pyramid formed. But again, I kind of want to, you know, last week would have been a better entry in terms of risk to reward. You could have gotten right there. So now you're a little higher, but you still got kind of a risk to reward to get into that target zone. So I'm going to put this on a potential. If you're in it, hold it. I can't recommend it because we got a red owl on the 60-minute. So it looks to me like we're in the pullback. All right. So I don't want to recommend it right now if we're going to get probably a better price in a week or so. Now, if you want to go in now and put your stop down here, okay. All right. I get that. That's okay. I could recommend it for that. But I usually don't like to pull the trigger. And this is why I use the multiple time frame analysis, because I want to make sure I've got synergy on the short-term charts and I've got clarity on the weekly chart. Now, if you go long, you got to cut that position in half too, because you got a very deep owl on the weekly chart. So General Motors, if you're in it, it's a good thing to be in it. Hold it. You'll be fine as long as your stop is at the bottom. I would not go in it now because the 60-minute chart is showing some bearishness. So you can probably get a better price later. We don't know how much this is going to retrace. So I would just wait it out until we get good momentum back on the 60-minute chart. All right, so not bad, but I can't recommend it for this week. DOCU, let's take a look at this one. DOCU. All right, and loading. All right, so let's take a look at this. All right, so this one, notice the 60-minute chart. We have green. Actually, we got a little yellow on the PTF, but that's okay. So we have green. We don't have much divergence here. See, you don't have a bearish divergence. This is now higher, and you've broken out of a short-term channel. That's good. That's the short-term channel you like there. I like this one. Okay, I'm going to put this one down as a good one. And Stuart, you get the cha-ching today. All right, so good job. All right, so on this one here, what you want to do is go ahead and go in now. Of course, talk to your financial advisor, make sure it is suitable for you. But we're looking at a target range of 145 to about 201. And we're at 70. So that's a double your money possibility. Now, I'm not saying that this downtrend is over, but I'm saying if you trade to just a correction area here, that you have a good chance of doubling your money. And then, of course, when you get in between the two blue lines, which is the wave 4 target at that point, trail your stops close. You're going against this, but it's not as deep as it was. So maybe cut your position by 1/3, okay? So whatever you do, when you do your trade size calculation, and hopefully you're using our risk to reward calculator or our trade size calculator for that. If not, you should get it. It's an inexpensive piece of software that will really save the day. But whatever you calculate your trade size to be based on the daily chart, take 1/3 off because you're going against, okay, the longer term weekly chart. If the owl was deeper on the weekly chart, I'd say take 1/2 off. But since that owl is coming back up pretty significantly, 1/3 will be okay. And then put your stop at the very, very bottom. And you look at the bullish divergence you got there. So you got short term, PTF at green, green, no red here. This is a go, okay? So this one so far is my favorite for the day, number 1, okay? All right, let's move on. And again, let's give Stuart a round of applause. All right, so the next one is TRIP. All right, let's take a look at that one, TRIP. All right, so TRIP looks like it's starting to move back up. We got bullishness on the 60-minute, and we got bullishness also on now the daily chart. And check out the bullish divergence. So we liking that. So we also got a PTF high of 65 bucks on this. So it looks like it could break out. I'm going to open up that weekly chart and just take a look and see. All right, so it went up all the way down, okay? And now it looks like it's trying to spring its way back up. All right, so here's what I would do. I would certainly hope that this trade would break this. If you're going to wait for that, because this is a weekly chart, excuse me, this is going to be a long-term position. You're going to be in that for years for that to break that. So if you want to take a shorter term trade, let's go to the daily and take a look and see where the fib retracements are on this particular stock. And so we're looking at $32.43. We should probably get into that area in the next 6 months or so. So maybe sooner, of course. So this is okay. Let's take a look at the risk to reward on this because it's already popped up. An ideal entry would have been back here. You see that little itty bitty pyramid? Let me just enlarge that a little bit so you can see it better. And there it is. All right, so there's the pyramid. I would have liked you to gone in way back here earlier, okay? But you're not too late right now, okay? So not too bad. All right, so in that case here, if you got in now and you had to stop at this, you could put it down here at these pyramids, then you got just about a 2-to-1. So that's not too bad. All right, now you're going to get a pullback. All right, no question about it. Do you wait for the pullback? You could, but this is a go right now. All right, so Stuart, good job. TRIP. All right, good job. All right, on that. So that is, I'm going to give you another shazing, okay? All right, so let's, that's the one I'm going to put on the buy list, okay? TRIP, like it. All right, let's keep moving down here. All right. Yep, and Ford from Patricia is a good one too. All right, Key, how are you doing? Let's take a look at Moderna. MRNA. This was one I think we looked at together a little bit earlier in the week, and we liked it. So let's see how it's going now. All right, so this is one that certainly is moving towards that retracement zone. So when we looked at this one before, we thought a correction to this area here at the very least. Now, we've had a huge move up here, haven't we? Okay, huge. Looks like this could be a 4 because it is just above what could be wave 1. So if this is 1, this is 2. Wave 4 cannot go below the top of wave 1. That's our Elliott wave rule. So that could be a 4. It's a very deep 4. And it looks like maybe we're coming out of that. Almost green. This is green. All right. So this is a little too late for a, I think, for a wave 4 trade. I mean, I guess you could put your stop here. You've had this could be the move down here. So you may have had the retracement already, but sometimes, you know, these things can be a little tricky. So if you put your stop here and prices are here, you'd have to get into the upper range of this target zone for you to have a 2-to-1. However, if you wanted to take this trade for a long-term trade, all right, and put your stop at the bottom here, then it possibly could do very well. All right, that top is at $500. Okay, and we're at 183. So that's quite a significant move. All right, 200% on your money. Okay, so not so bad, but it's a long-term trade. You're going to be in that for years. All right, so that's where we are on that. So I can't recommend it for a short-term trade, but I can certainly at this point recommend it for a possible long-term trade. I'd like that owl to really be green before going with that, though, and probably a pyramid on the weekly chart first. So I'm not going to put this on the buy list, but not a bad one. The problem is we're just too close to the target zone. A couple of weeks ago, it would have been a much better buy. All right, so let's take a look at TXN. Even when we looked at it, Key, I think it was down around 150 because that was a couple of days ago, and it's come up in the last, since midweek, really. All right, popped up quite a bit. All right, TXN. So let's take a look at that one. Okay, so moving up, the lower time frames are definitely bullish. Let me just quickly take a look on this. All right, so what do we got cooking here? I think you got to be a little careful here. You can go to the long side on the shorter term charts. You did not hit the high probability area for a major 4 on the weekly. So 3, this could be, you know, there's 2 things that could happen here. This could be an ABC, and if that's the case, wave 4 could be over because it reached the low probability red area. So 15% of the time, wave 4s fail to meet the high probability target zone. Okay, and 15% exceed but can't go into wave 1. All right, so this could be also an A, all right, and a B. That's still underway. That's not done yet. And then we'll have C. So that's the problem with this. All right. So I would trade this probably. It's too late to get in it. That's the way I'm looking at it right now. Unless this is going to make an all-time new high, you got to be careful here because it still technically could be in a corrective zone. So that's my problem with that. All right. I can't, for me, just it's a late entry. If I could have gotten in here on this pyramid, great, because then I could have drawn the fibs and I probably would have a target zone right about where we are now. But for right now, it's too far along. Okay. I think you're going to get a huge pullback as well. And then you can take a look at it again, because if you get a pullback and it retraces to the inflection point and bounces off and heads back up, then you can take the trade at a better price. All right. So that's kind of what I'm looking at those. But if you're long on those already, which you are, you're in great shape. And also too, you have green here. I don't know if you can see that at home. I'll enlarge that in a minute. And green here, no red. So you want to stay long here, okay? The only thing I would do here, possibly, all right, is usually when I have a green PTF, you can stay long and have your stop under here. But you also have a 2B setting up. See that reversal? So after you've had a big move up here like this, if you wanted to scale out of a third, you could do that or not. All right, with a green PTF, you can keep it, but you're going to have some type of retracement at some point. So you got to be okay with that. All right, so there we have it. All right, Aggie, let's see on NVIDIA. He wants to go back to NVIDIA. All right, I don't know if I answered this earlier, but let's see what we got cooking here. So on NVIDIA here, let's open up this bad boy. I think what you're asking here, this is 1, 2, okay? So this is your wave 1 top. And as you can see, wave 4 did not hit it. So that could be a wave 4. All right, so on the long-term charts, you know, this would be a 3 here. So this would be a 1. So we haven't gone below that. Okay, hopefully that answered your question there. All right, let's move up here. Keep going, I'm keeping going. Okay, so there you have that. Trip is a go now for Stuart. Yep. All right. Let's see. Anybody else? Okay, good. Aggie, good. All right, so just give it a minute, see if anybody has anything else. You know, it's interesting. Let's take a quick look at the real estate ETFs, because this is kind of interesting. All right, if we take a look at the real estate ETFs, you know, we had a softening in the market, and now it's improving. Okay, and we have a green PTF on the weekly chart. So that's indicating that we're going to make another high on the ETFs in real estate. And yet interest rates are going up. But what's interesting is that mortgage rates have actually come down a little bit. Do you know that? I think they're at 4.5% now. Okay, and they were almost a little over 5 a couple of weeks ago. So interest rates have come down a little bit, and maybe the markets are telling us that that's going to stabilize housing at least for another high. Kind of interesting, isn't it? All right, I know it's softening a little bit in different areas. You know, real estate's very local, but I got to be honest with you, we're seeing bullishness come back on the ETFs for real estate, and I didn't expect that because of the rising rates, but apparently the mortgage rates have come down. All right, Visa. Let's take a look at Visa for Aggie here. All right, give that a second to load. Going once, going twice. Come on, Visa. I don't know. I see nothing. I got white here. I'm not sure. Check that symbol. The V? Did you mean V or did you mean Visa? Okay, let's go on here. SNPS. Key, I'll take a look at those for you. All right, so here's SNPS. So Aggie, check that symbol, okay? Might be something else. All right, so what are we doing here? Okay, so you're long on these. Well, you're long on the right ones here, Key. You must be one of my students. All right, so this is looking pretty good. We got green here. We got green on here. Okay, so see the bearish divergence starting to slightly come in on this move down. So we're probably going to get a retracement between 330 and 340, eyeballing it like that. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think the uptrend is over. So here's what I think is going to happen with this one. Move down and move back up. And I'm saying this because this, all right, is looking a little toppy over there. And you've had a number of price bars in a row. So I'm not saying dump the long position, but make sure your stop, if you want to stay in it for more highs, you got to give this a chance to breathe. The difficult part about stocks or trading any market is when you're sitting with a lot of profit and yet more highs according to your system is coming, but you got to weather a pullback before you see those more highs. Psychologically, that's tough to do. Okay. So you got to come up with a game plan. Hopefully your rules will have a game plan in it, but you know, you have a 1B sitting here. So if you wanted to take a third off, I wouldn't take a half, maybe a third and scale out if pulling back is something that you can't stomach. Okay. Hard to stomach. All right. So just long position's good. Keep it, but you're going to get a pullback. All right. So, okay, V. Yeah, I thought so. Okay. So, Aggie, always type in the symbol for me, okay? All right, so let's take a look at V here. I kind of thought that's what you kind of wanted there. All right, let's see here what we got. Now we're talking. All right, kind of a messy market on this, see? I mean, look how roly-poly it is. All right. The only way you're going to trade this is drop down to a very much shorter time frame and trade these little short swings, because you're not going to catch it on the daily. You're going to get whipsawed to death. So you'd have to go like to this time frame and make that your primary. And by the way, when you see that, when you see a messy daily, go down or go up and see if it's clear. Okay. Let's take a look at the weekly and see about this one. All right. So the weekly is pretty clear in that it looks like we're in a wave 4. So it looks like we should resolve ourselves to the downside. Again, what I like about that, you cannot mistake that for a wave 3, okay? It's obvious. So 3, all right, where's 1? Probably way back here and here. You know, this is a weekly chart, so wave 1 is, the top could be 2010, all right? So now, where's this bad boy going to retrace? If we anchor this thing, whoops, let me, of course, get the right tool. So if we anchor this thing from here to here, you know, we're looking at 164 to 107 for wave 4. All right, we hit the low probability zone, but I'm not going long here, okay? I'm not saying you can't, you know, you might have a bullish trade to the upside here before it falls down, because that's what we're doing on a lot of our short-term stocks. But that's a messy week. That's a messy daily chart. And chances are when you have a messy daily chart, you're in a correction on the long-term chart. Not always, but most of the time. Okay. And so let's take a look at the 60-minute chart and see if that is even short enough. That's even, I'll tell you, this is tough because you would have made a little money here and gotten stopped out. And then it's even messy on the 60-minute. So you know, the only trade I see here is to wait on this one or take a short trade down to the target zone, because you got a pyramid here and here. So you got 2 to 1 to the target zone. So maybe a short trade on the weekly chart is all I see. All right. Hopefully that helps. All right. Netflix for Adam. Let's take a look at Netflix. Any Netflix junkies out there? My wife and I kind of are. We like to watch Netflix at night. All right. So usually get hooked on these movies, you know, with the seasons, you know. All right. So what do we got cooking here? All right. Let me erase this because I don't see any reason to have that there at this time. Well, I do actually. Okay. So I think Okay. Let's see if we're back. Are we back? Are we back? Don't ask me what happened, but I think we're back. Okay, good. So we're back. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that. I was just trucking right along, and all of a sudden, I noticed I was gone. Okay, so that happens. All right, back to Netflix. All right. Okay, so I don't know where you lost me. Looks like quite a while ago, actually, a couple minutes ago. All right, so let's take a look at Netflix here for Adam. So Adam, I think on Netflix, we got one more low coming, okay? I don't think it's quite ready for a long trade. I think with a red PTF on that daily chart, we got another low, all right? So I hold off on that for a long position. All right, let me go to Kroger, KR. And let's see, okay. So let's see what we got for KR here. All right, so I'm gonna open up the weekly chart here. Wave 3, according to the owl, is here. Okay, we're in wave 4 at this particular point. So probably coming down, all right, close to a stop out on this pyramid for your long-term holders. Obviously, nice trade to the downside there. You got a red PTF here. All right, let me open up the 60-minute chart, all right? So here's something you may want to consider if you're using our tools. When you have red here, there's a 75% chance we're going back down. So you don't want to take a long trade, right? However, the daily chart didn't really have any trades. So this is the 60-minute chart. So if you wanted to, you could take a scalp trade. I call PTF trades scalp trades. So if you go short here, you put your stop at the top and you try to make it to the target. You got to wait for a red owl first, but it's close. All right, so maybe a break below this ledge. The tricky thing about a scalp PTF trade is if it swings up and makes one more high, you're going to get stopped out, but then it could sell off. So sometimes you got to stay with those, okay? You may not hit it perfectly on the first try. However, I will say with this that if you wait for the owl to turn red, your chances increase that you're hitting it right, okay? So that's where I stand on that one. So in terms of this trade right here, if you're long-term, you're still in it with your stop right below this pyramid here. But then if it goes below there, you got to get out because then that's going into a deep pullback or almost really basically almost like a change in trend. Okay, so be careful on this one. I don't see a long trade yet on the daily chart. I see a possible scalp around the corner on the 60-minute chart. Hopefully that helps, okay? All right, let's keep going here. Let me see here. Glad I could come back. Oh, boy, Zeke's making me earn my money today. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 to look up. All right, let's take a look at those. XPH. And you are long on all of these. Okay, so XPH, let's take a look here. All right, so based on what you know here, would you be long? This is why having the right trading tools is everything. First of all, very messy weekly chart. Look at that. Pretty messy. You're still in a correction. So if we open that chart up, there's your wave 3. You can't miss it, right? Boom. But look at this mess. And you're not at it. That's a complex correction probably. So that's kind of a mess. And you got a red PTF indicating the correction may not be over. So that I don't like. I don't like the red PTF here. So no go on that. Okay. So no long position on that. All right. Let's see, XHS. Okay. All right. So let's see what we got cooking on this bad boy. All right. This one, no red PTF. So they're all neutral. All right. Let's open up that weekly chart. All right. So you've come down to a corrective area here. Question is, are you going to make another high or are we going to slide and go along like that for a little while? So let's go in here and take a look at the daily. Kind of a messy chart. You missed the best entry on that. I think here you're probably going to get a pullback because you're starting to see some red over here. Look how spotty the 60-minute chart is. All right, low liquidity here. Not my favorite market. I think you can do better. Okay, so if you're long here on the pyramids, you did well so far. All right, but you got a 2B up here, bearish 2B, so you may want to scalp out a little bit because that one is not as clear. Let's see, XBI. Okay, let's try that one. All right, let's see what we got cooking on this one. Okay, this one I like a lot better. All right, so let's see what we got cooking on this for a long. All right, so we're bouncing off a big bottom here. We looked at this before. So we have a target way up here at 157 all the way to like 200. Let me just pull that down. 217. So that's not bad there. All right, even if you only got to a retracement area before you hit some type of resistance, you got between 94 and 114. So long positions here is good. 60-minute chart shows a bullish owl and a bullish PTF. You have a bullish owl on the daily. So you have a decision to make. When you get to this target zone, if your intentions are to make it way up here on the weekly chart, then you got to keep the stop low and hold it, okay? Because you really haven't had that much of a pullback yet. If your intentions are here, then you're almost there, okay? So keep an eye on that. So a long position here is okay. All right, let's take a look at one more, XLV. Zeke, good point. I'll repeat what you're saying there in just a minute. All right, XLV here. We got a bearish PTF. My eyes go right to that bearish PTF on the left-hand side, right? So no long trade here. Okay, maybe a short trade based on the 60-minute chart. Let's open that up. So once again, the PTF here is saying chances are we'll go down here, okay, before going up here, right? So let's erase that. So if you wanted to take a scalp trade, you got red here and red here, pyramid short here, I'd put your stop here, okay? And let's see, you got one, just almost close to 2-to-1, maybe not quite, but close enough so you could take the scalp trade. I'll say, I'm going to put this one down as possibly a short trade, not a long trade. So that could be a moneymaker if our stop holds. Okay, so that one's actually better than short. Now, what Zeke did was very interesting. He said, one reason, I'm reading the comments here. He says, one reason I asked about these biotech ETF symbols was to help prove the point that blind buying of expert recommendations might not make sense. Be careful. Amen to that, Zeke. Same thing when you get a call from your broker. If your broker calls you and say, hey, I've got the greatest stock since, apple pie, so to speak, look at the technicals. Have the right tools because the price does not lie, okay? Price is the truth of the market. The price history is the footprint of that truth. And that's what we look at as technical traders. So if you get a recommendation from an expert or a broker, okay, check it, all right? And trust and verify, right? Check it and see if it makes sense. And if it does, fine. If not, hold off, okay? That's the point Zeke is making, and it's an excellent point. All right, well, I think we've come almost to the end here. I think we are pretty much here. Great. All right. So good turnout today. Thank you so much. All right. So yeah, beware if I've got a feeling, right? Also, too, during a bear market, a lot of times you'll get a call from your broker when a market's pulled back, and he'll tell you this is a great time to buy because it's pulled back. And in a bull market, that's a good strategy. In a bear market, that's a disaster, because you're buying into a market that's still selling off, And of course, that means it's going to go lower. So you're not going to do too good. All right. So that is it for this week. We're going to be back next Friday. Can't wait. I always love doing these sessions with you all. And I think we found some pretty good ones. So a recap on what we found. We have Ford. Okay. Let me get my little sound thing. Okay. That's a good one. NVDA. Okay. DOCU, DOCU. And TRIP, TRIP. And believe it or not, XLV to the short side. What do you think of that? Okay. All right. So there you have it. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 possibilities for you. And that's what's so great about a session like today is not only are we able to look at a lot of markets, but we usually find some pretty good ones thanks to you guys. All right, guys and gals out there. All right. So let's see what else we got cooking here. I think that's it for today. So join us again next week. And as Gene says, give us a like because, you know, that's the way YouTube works. The more likes you get, the more people you get. The more people you get, the more stocks we find. So all good, right? All right. So thank you, everybody, for coming today. Really appreciate you taking the time today. And if you want to learn more about our trading tools, then, of course, go to our website and check those out. And we have videos on how they all work. But you have to have the right tools in order to do well in this business. That's absolutely paramount. And then you have to use risk control. Okay. All right. So we'll see you next time. Thanks so much. I think I'll put some, let's have some fun here. Let me put up some of the, I always just like to do this to let the meter run a little bit here. Let me put up a futures day trading chart here. Oh boy, look at that big move down. Boom. All right. So that's kind of where we are here. Nice move down here. Still more lows coming. So if if you're a day trader, all right, this is a 1 minute chart. Believe it or not, 15-second chart. Pretty clear on the 15-second. And this is a 5 minute chart. And this happens to be the MES. And we run a day trading room, or I run a day trading room, and we trade these time frames as well. And, we could take a look at crude oil. All right. So this was actually a drawing tool left from another session. So let me remove that. Okay. And this looks like it's heading down a little bit after a beautiful run up. Look at that. Pyramids did a great job on that. All right. But now we're in a correction. So we're probably on this one. Why don't we just keep this one up? Because this is pretty clear. So if we draw kind of a fib here, we're probably looking at a retracement here. So if you're short on crude, you want to cover in here after momentum comes back in, and then take the long trade. Okay. So crude, if you're not short, don't go short. It's too late. But wait for it to get between 89 bucks and a half, 89 and a half to 88, and then you might have a nice day trade on crude for, this is a 1 minute chart for maybe half an hour at the most. Okay, so we'll see. All right, so that's kind of where that's looking. All right, so there you have it. All right, so we'll see you next week. I'll keep the chart on here. I'll put a little music on, and then eventually I'll have to end the session. So thanks for being here, everybody, and have a great one. Here, I'll come on in for just a minute and say a couple things on this day trade here. So it's working its way down to the target zone. It's already in the red area. So 15% of the time, corrections end in that area. But we have red here. So if this turns green, and you don't want to miss it, because you might miss it, you could go long, but you got to put your stop below the fib high probability area, which means your stop would have to be way down here. So it's not the preferred way of doing it. What you kind of want is you want to take trades that hit the high probability target area and then go ahead and go long after that. But there are some variables that you can put in that can allow you to trade if the momentum turned around while the stock is still in the red area. But usually the problem with that is then with your stop so far away, the risk to reward is a problem. So you gotta kind of make sure all the variables line up. So I just wanted to throw that in. Okay, so now it looks like we're heading into the target zone on the 1 minute chart. So this is a 3, this will be your 4, so that's good. We kind of want to get it in there. And we can't go long, and we still got a pretty deep owl here that's red. So we got to wait for these owls to turn green before we can even consider a long trade, okay? But if they do go green, you want to do the long trade, then you can put your stop either at the bottom here or put it here, okay? And adjust your trade size accordingly. I like these to go a little more into the target zone, but the markets don't always do what we want it to do. So if it bounces from here and these turn green, our rules basically say take the trade, but then we have to be selective on our position size and our stop, and I'd give it a little more room in case it takes one more dive in here. But that's me, okay? Some people, sometimes, depending on how chancy I'm feeling, I'll put the stop right here. And if I get stopped out, so be it. And then I'll do it again when I get another green to go long. So that's kind of how I work that. But right now, it's, everything's still red. So you got to let this thing still unwind. But it has touched the high probability zone. So that's a good thing. My gut feeling is it may go back in it. We'll see. And also one more thing was we have an active pyramid to the downside. So I'm not going to go long. Prices have to get above that before I'd even consider a long position, even if I have green owls. So we don't ever go against, the rules say don't ever go against an active P pyramid to the downside. Okay, MP you can, but P no. All right, and it looks like we're heading back down, possibly into the target zone. All right, guys, due to time limits, we're going to have to sign off here. Okay, we thank you for being here, and we'll see you back here next Friday. And I hope you've enjoyed this session, and we'll see you again.